Hello, good morning everyone. This is KINE261M class professional preparation for martial arts. And this is Hosung So, who will be spending for the next 8 weeks with you for this class. Again, thank you so much for joining this class. And I will talk about the first lecture. I have 19 students right here. Maria, Jonathan, Raul, Sandy, Bruce Lee, Abel, Jacob, Jesus, Miguel, Anthony, Priscilla, Andrea, Francisco, Brent, Justin, Samuel, Andres, Noel, and Gabriel. And I have 19 students. Again, welcome to this class. I'm sure you're missing California State University San Bernardino, and you're also missing your friends and professors, your colleagues, and staying home, right? I hope you will stay safe and well. Okay, today is the first lecture that has 6 topics that I want you to read and study for the first online quiz that will be this coming Friday. The first lecture has again 6 topics. I'll send you this PowerPoint to you as well for you to read. The first topic is why self-defense should be taught in schools. And anyway, what is self-defense? And to give you a better idea, the second topic is self-defense law in California. And the third topic is physical education guidelines for middle and high school. And I want to show you 2 self-defense programs in California. We do offer self-defense for future teachers. We are one of 2 schools in the CSU system to provide self-defense class. The next topic is a little bit heavy for you to read and memorize. There are 3 educational domains in education. So whatever you teach, you should have some regions where you teach. And to categorize students' learning, we have 3 domains of learning. The last topic is very, very important for you for your future. I want you to stop by NASB standards and also California Physical Education Framework. Okay, are you ready? Let's move to the next slide. So what is self-defense? Anyway, okay, so I'll give you some definitions. Self-defense is a set of skills that allows you to defend themselves by engaging in physical combat. But in truth, this type of training incorporates far more than its physical elements. In its true form, self-defense training enhances people's mental awareness and help them identify and prevent acts of crime and opens up a person to a healthier confidence approach to life. Over 700,000 students in the United States aged from 12 to 18 years have directly experienced violent crimes. In addition, statistics also show that 67% of all sexual assault victims are underage. This is one of the reasons why we need to teach self-defense in public schools. So next, the topic is California self-defense laws. So sometimes you have to use self-defense, but you have to understand some legal aspects of self-defense as well. So when you teach self-defense in the future, you also need to highlight some of the legal aspects of self-defense as well. If you use in a right way, yes, that will save you. But if you use in a wrong way, you will face some legal issues and as well. So by law, what is self-defense? Self-defense means using force to protect yourself from danger. When you argue self-defense, you admit to engaging in behavior that is under other circumstances against the law. This is also known as an affirmative defense. Affirmative defense. Please remember this term that will be on your pop quiz on Friday. Affirmative defense. You admit to committing a crime, but explain that you only did so to protect yourself. In other words, your argument is based on the fact that if you had not engaged in the use of force or violence, you or someone else would have been harmed in some way. So, when can I act in self-defense? So, you will have some cases here. When can I act in self-defense? In California, you have the right to act in self-defense when you have a reasonable belief that you are in danger. The use of force may be justified when you have a reasonable belief that you are about to be physically harmed in some ways. Let me change the angle a little bit so you can see. So this is the definition for self-defense legally. There's a few examples of when self-defense may be appropriate and should be used. That includes the imminent threats of rape, murder, mayhem, robbery, or any other act that puts you at risk of suffering great bodily harm. So let me briefly explain about those cases. So how do you establish self-defense? In order to successfully establish that you acted in self-defense, California law requires you to prove each of the following things. But the bottom line is you had a reasonable belief that you were in imminent danger of suffering harm or death. So there are three requirements that you need to remember to establish self-defense. First is imminent danger, a threat that is happening right now at this very moment. So something is coming up and you know, and that is imminent danger. Second component is reasonable belief. Danger is imminent and force is necessary to protect. You know what is happening right now that will be harmful for you, and then you need to use self-defense, and force is necessary to protect. The last one is very important as well. Proportionate force. Proportionate force. The degree of force used to protect yourself must be proportionate to the danger you face. And you can go over, you can do too much to protect yourself. It would not be justified to use deadly force to protect yourself from a simple assault and battery. Someone is yelling at you and you kill somebody as a self-defense. That's not good. In terms of proportionate force, the level of force used must simply be sufficient to stop the imminent threat of danger. Again, there are three components, things that you need to consider to establish self-defense before you use any self-defensive skills. Please remember quickly those three factors. And the next topic that I want to talk about is imperfect self-defense. Imperfect self-defense. And the definition you can see right here, your belief of danger or the need to use force to protect yourself was not reasonable. In some situations, you may be able to reduce the seriousness of the charges against you by arguing imperfect self-defense. And you can see three the photos on the bottom right there. And I'll give you a simple example when the imperfect self-defense can be applied. So example, I'm going to read one example. You witnessed what you believed to be an altercation between two people in a park. You saw one of those people reach into his pocket and draw out an object that you believed was a knife. You fatally attacked that person in an effort to protect the other person from harm. As it turns out, there was never a threat of danger. In fact, the two people were acting out a scene from a play. Wow. The person you killed simply reached into his pocket to check the time on his cell phone. Your use of force was not reasonable. This is called imperfect self-defense. You may be able to argue imperfect self-defense because you made an honest mistake. Honest mistake. If successful, you may be able to downgrade charges for murder to charges for manslaughter. Okay, so when you use self-defense, please remember there are three considerations, three things that you need to remember. Imminent danger. The danger is happening right now, and you gotta act based on your reasonable belief, and you really need to move. Okay, the third topic is California Physical Education Guidelines for middle and high schools. Now I want to talk about California Department of Education and this class as well. So why are you taking this class? Self-defense. Why are you taking this class? Because according to the California Department of Education, combative or self-defense martial arts is required. So let's take a look at middle and high school requirements that you'll be working at for your future professions. Right here, physical education guidelines for middle and high schools. If you need this website, please go to website address on the top right here. You can see the California Department of Education for physical education. Next slide will give you a better idea for physical education in middle and high schools. All students in grades 7 to 12 must receive a minimum of 400 minutes of physical education instruction every 10 school days. Remember, 400 minutes for 10 school days. That will be on the test. Local school boards may exempt students from any 2 years of physical education in grades 10, 11, or 12. Beginning in July 2007, students must pass the physical performance test, which is known as fitness gram test, administered in grade 9 to receive the last 2 years PE exempted. So right here, high school physical education course content must include instruction in each of the 8 content areas. For those who will be working in middle and high school, you will be teaching the following 8 content areas. As you can see here on the bottom, combatives or self-defense martial arts is one of 8 required content areas. So if you want to memorize those 8 content areas, please recall what you have taken in kinesiology department. As of now, 261 cities, 263 pro prep courses. Those are meeting for those 8 content areas. Combative, So right here, if you work at high school that has 900 students, and the school should have 88% of enrollment, such as 792 students will be taking PE. If that is the case, then you need to offer 20 sections, and you need to offer at least 6 PE classes for high school A, for example. What if you work at a high school C, which has 3,800 students, which is big? Then district class size is 40 across high schools A, B, and C. The class size is set at 40, but technically you'll be teaching a bigger class PE. But here, if you work at high school C, you will have a busy PE classes, and then you will see 84 sections of PE. And next slide. So you can see 8 topics: aquatics, body mechanics, combatives, gymnastics, individual and dual sports, and physical activity, and rhythms, and dance, and team sports. And what do you need for each? Do you need a court area, field, gymnasium, dance, fitness, pool, and classroom? So to teach combatives, you need gymnasium and dance or wrestling rooms or fitness room. Yeah, definitely you don't need swimming pool. Swimming pool, you don't need it. And the it's not the last. California Physical Education Guidelines, Middle and High School. From now, I want you to visit this website that will give you a lot of information about physical education. Personally, I visit this website frequently to see any updates. So once you become a PE teacher, please visit this website to make yourself updated. Again, some requirements right here. Those who will be working at elementary school, you have to teach up to 200 minutes for each 10 school days. That is the requirement. Bottom line, what if you work at middle and high school and you have to teach right here 400 minutes for 10 school days? Remember, elementary 200 minutes for 10 school days. Middle and high school, you have to teach up to 400 minutes for 10 school days. The next topic is self-defense courses in physical education, teacher education, or general physical education classes at university level. And you can see this is UC Berkeley Taekwondo class, and this is the University of Southern California, USC, physical education course for self-defense as well. Again, I'm so proud to say that we have self-defense class in the CSU system. We have we have done this class for the past over 10 years, and I miss a lot of interactions with you in class and physical movements, but unfortunately we are doing a virtual self-defense class, and I miss gymnasium, and I miss interactions, and I miss a lot of interactions with you. Okay, so next topic is 3 domains of learning. Well, this one needs a lot of readings from you, but I will try to summarize what they are. Okay, so when you teach, you will focus on students' learning. Student learning has 3 educational domains. The first one is a cognitive domain developed by Bloom in 1956. Next domain is affective domain by Croth Hall in 1964. The last domain is psychomotor domain by Harrow in 1972. So you can see 8 years in gap right there. So cognitive domain was developed first in 1956. In 1964, affective domain was developed. And simply, these learning domains is known as Bloom's taxonomy. So if someone is asking you, do you know Bloom's taxonomy? That means learning domains in education that has three distinctive domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain. So what is cognitive domain? Cognitive domain is all about thinking, your brain work. Affective domain is social, emotional, and feeling. Psychomotor domain is physical or kinesthetic, the beauty of movements. Each domain has a taxonomy associated with it. So taxonomy is a word for classification. So Bloom's taxonomy for cognitive. Bloom's taxonomy for affective domain. Bloom's taxonomy for psychomotor domain. Even though these domains were developed by different people, Bloom worked with each of them. So he was the first author for cognitive domain. He was the second author for affective domain, and he helped develop psychomotor domain. So next slide, you will get better idea what it is. So this is Bloom's taxonomy for cognitive domain. So as you can see here, in 1956, according to Bloom's taxonomy, students' learning is a hierarchical structure. So simply, this is a very, very bottom. Students will be able to learn, comprehend, apply, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate. So whatever you teach, students will try to understand, memorize, and try to move up to next level based on their knowledge, which is comprehension. But in 2001, the original taxonomy of Bloom's cognitive domain was revised in 2001 by Growth Hall, who was the second author of the cognitive domain, working with Bloom in 1956. So as you can see here, the top two categories in learning in cognitive domain was switched right there. So now create is the top in this structure, and also you can see those words have been changed from noun to verb, knowledge to remember, comprehension to understand, application to apply, analysis to analyze, synthesize to create, evaluation to evaluate. So next is affective domain of learning. So affective domain is all about your feeling and your emotion, your leadership and responsibility, and valuing, and try to organize. So I want you to understand affective domain is all about emotion, interest, attention, responsibility. And the last domain in learning is called psychomotor domain. As you can see here, this is also a hierarchical structure. Some of your students will be able to do very simple skills, and some of your students will be able to organize and adapt and respond to some complicated skills. So this is a hierarchical structure from basic to advanced skills. You don't have to memorize those steps. I want you to understand which is the most important. Bloom's taxonomy in learning in cognitive domain. There are 6 categories in students' learning. Some of your students will be able to simply remember, but they cannot be really be creative, right? And we also have affective domain, which is all about emotion and psychological aspect of learning. And also we have psychomotor domain, which is doing something and some skills using your physical movements. So this is a very brief summary of 3 domains of learning. So learning domains or Bloom's taxonomy that has 3 different aspects: affective, cognitive, and psychomotor. Remember, there are 3 educational domains of student learning: affective, cognitive, psychomotor. Each domain has a hierarchical structure from bottom to up. Remember, this is a hierarchical structure for students learning. Some of your students will be able to understand, and some will comprehend and apply, but only few will be analyze and synthesize, evaluate, or create right there. So this is a surface learning, very fundamental or basic. The last topic for today is NASP standards and also California framework. And NASP stands for National Association for Sports and Physical Education. SHAPE is Society for Health and Physical Education. Why are they so important? NASP and SHAPE set standards for physical education. So they set national standards for physical education. So why do we need standards? Standards will give us better idea what to teach and how to teach, when to teach. Those are standards. Again, NASP sets national standards for physical education. According to NASP standards, we have 5 standards: Standard 1, Standard 2, Standard 3, 4, and 5. These are very, very important that I want you to read a couple of times. There are 5 standards for physical education set by NASP and SHAPE. The first standard is the physically literate individual demonstrates competency in a variety of motor skills and movement patterns. Second standard, the physically literate individual applies knowledge of concepts, principles, strategies, and tactics related to movement and performance. Standard 3 is the physically literate individual demonstrates the knowledge and skills to achieve and maintain a health-enhancing level of physical activity and fitness. Standard 4, the physically literate individual exhibits responsible personal and social behavior that respects self and others. The last standard, the physically literate individual recognized the value of physical activity for health, enjoyment, challenge, self-expression, and or social interactions. So on this slide, I want you to memorize. We have the organization called NASP, which is working with SHAPE America. They set national standards for physical education, and we have 5 standards. And Next slides will give you 5 standards in Spanish. Sorry I don't speak Spanish, but you'll be working with Spanish-speaking students in the near future, and you'll be working with teachers who will be speaking in Spanish as well. And you can always post those standards to communicate with them and to give them better ideas what to teach and what are the goals in physical education. The next one is California Physical Education Framework that has over 300 pages. And this is known as a Bible for physical education teachers that will give you framework for physical education in California. And you can see this book will give you really good ideas what to teach from K through 12. K through 12. And again, if you need a free copy of California Framework, please visit this website. This is a PDF, so you can get a copy of it. This is the second edition for Physical Education Framework in California. The first edition was the first PE framework was published in 2005, and the most recent updated standards for PE in California was developed in 2009. So again, this is a Bible for us, and I hope you will visit this site and get a free copy of PE framework. I think this is the last, no, one more summary. So today was the first lecture for almost 20 minutes. And lecture 1, I want you to go back to each slide to find out some key components for the lecture 1. The first is why self-defense should be taught in schools in California, and what is self-defense in terms of the definition and definition by law in California. And we do have a PE guidelines for middle and high school and elementary school as well, K through 12, 200 minutes for 10 school days for elementary, and 400 minutes for middle and high school students in PE. And we do have some self-defense programs required by all college students, and PETE, Physical Education Teacher Education Programs, which is known as sports pedagogy. And we have 3 educational domains of learning for students. Do you still remember 3 educational domains? Cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Each domain has a hierarchical structure from basic to advanced skill to learn. And we have 5 standards for physical education set by NASP and Shape America. And we adopted NASP standards for physical education in California, and we also have some guidelines, which is known as California Physical Education Framework, that will give you standards and contents, what to teach, when to teach by grade level. Okay, so your first online key quiz will be this coming Friday from this slides, and the next slides that I'll give it to you on Wednesday. And the quiz will be starting at 10:40 to 6 p.m. Wow. 10:40 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you have more than 8 or 7 hours, and you will have only 10 questions. 10 questions. 10 questions for 7 hours. Well, there are many reasons why I set this time frame. Some of you will have some difficulties getting into website and internet connection. Some of you might have some work conflict. Some of you will have some emergencies. So you have almost 8 hours of time window to be able to get the first quiz. Again, since we are not gonna see each other, our interactions will be based on our online meetings. Sometimes just email exchanges. So your online quizzes will be very, very important for your learning and some interactions between you and me. Okay, so let's go back to the first slide. Again, welcome to Kinesiology 261M, Professional Preparation for Martial Arts. I plan to record this PowerPoint less than 10 minutes because I need to upload this video clip to YouTube. So next time I'll try to be brief. I don't want you to spend a lot of time looking at website and PowerPoint. You have to use a lot of data uses as well. So again, I promise to send you some videos and PowerPoints, which will be brief and very useful and helpful. Again, please stay safe and well, and I will see you on Wednesday at the Zoom meeting. Again, thank you so much. Bye bye.